let's look at how this level is playing field. I came here, third tournament. I don't know a lot of this stuff. The problem is, they've had a lot more experience than I did. What can we do? We can run these arguments, we can perform. We can look at different issues. We're running the arguments. So let's look at level 9. They talk about how it's not unique and how you're always going to have schools that are going to be having more funding than others. That's not the point. What we're trying to tell you is at the point where these schools have different alternative mechanisms to win, they can use those. They can use performative debate to function. You can look at Cal State Fullerton. Their teams are traditionally known for running performative debate, and they have a bad reputation on the circuit for doing this. Schools don't like them because they're breaking normative traditions, but it's working. Judges are liking it. Judges are voting on it, and they're getting like a good, solid, credible rep. Now let's look at the term. They're telling you that they won't get funding if it's performative. I contend this is not true. A lot of schools just look at if you're winning or not. Cal State Fullerton is winning. Now they're getting funding. This takes up the term. Now let's look at, it's cheap to look at the internet. That's not the argument. The argument is if you have 50 teams with lots of coaches, you can do a lot more research than if you have one team or two teams and you don't have any coach. Me and Zach aren't going to be able to do the same amount of research as, say, Western Kentucky with their like millions of coaches. Sure.
If you have a lot of coaches, can't you come up with a lot more performances? Like, I don't understand how this is a unique reason to prefer one type of debate.
I think that the advantage of the coach like multiple performance case doesn't impact as much. Sorry, multiple performer positions doesn't impact as much as having multiple people doing research, doing different types of cases. Like those type of cases, yeah, like those resources are like very hard to weigh out. Like if you have lots of coaches, you're going to be able to get a lot more research on policy cases, when performance cases can apply to a lot of different stuff. Okay. Let's look at their advocacy points, right? So they come up here and they talk about they can win in two ways. They can say text is preferred to not text, or more importantly, a textual debate with performance is better than just performance. And I think if you look at a lot of their arguments, a lot of their offense, basically all of it, actually all their offense comes off of that second plank, right? Like they never just tell you why pure textual debate is more important. They keep telling you, we want, like performance is fine, just give us like a textual reason to like accept it. So here's the problem. I think that any sort of textual debate, any sort of performance with textual debate is still performative debate, right? You're never going to get a judge who's going to look at a debate with performance and like any sort of explanation and think it's not performance. Like I think in the round with silence, they gave some sort of a framework analysis on why this is preferable, and then they engaged in the performance. But no one is going to say that's a textual advocacy. Everyone's talking about how their performance debate occurred. They even themselves talk about how we performed in a silence, like the silence performance, right? So if you look to their own rhetoric, they're telling you like that even that is performative debate. So I think that severs a lot of their offense, because that's actually just performative debate, and there's no you can't distinguish between them. But now, let's go to why you can't distinguish, which is.
Wait, go back to the advocacy. The advocacy is completely different. This is competitive academic debate is preferable to non-textual.
Okay, yeah. So if you look to the advocacy text, like the rhetoric within there, it actually shows you like that they aren't going to be able to get the second plank because it tells you that it's the academic debate with textual advocacy is preferable to non-textual, right? Like not non-textual with a textual attachment. But furthermore, I think that like when Peter tells you he didn't understand the question, like just bringing it up now doesn't like somehow take that out, right? Okay, now let's look to the bright line on exclusion up top, right? The second impact. So we need an explanation is the bright line. The problem is how much of an explanation is enough, right? Like is 30 seconds of an explanation saying our performance is preferred to the other team enough? No, it's not. That's what we're telling you. We're calling for like that any sort of rejection of performance is bad, because at the point where you're allowing for rejection of performance based on judge intervention, that's bad, and they never tell you how much explanation is enough. Sure.
Yeah. So what is your ground in this debate? Like, are you defending text and performance, or are you defending solely performance?
We're defending we're saying don't reject performance. We're telling you like it's a very good form of debate, right? We're going to go over why. Okay, let's go to exclusions, the mills, that engagement is crucial, why that's necessary, right? We're telling you that if you can beat performance, do it. Don't rely on the judge, and that's what this rejection of performative debate is going to tell you to do. It's going to tell you that you can just default to the textual debate is better than non-textual debate, so at that point you reject any sort of non-textual performative debate. That's what we're telling you is bad, because you're going to be forced to engage the other by allowing the performative debate. You're forced to engage the other, right? They tell you that the best engagement is through words. We're telling you they can engage through words, but we're just saying let us do our performance. Let there be a performance in the round which doesn't occur under advocacy. And let's go down to the second one, communication is the community, you need to discuss through language. We're telling you, one, you can still engage the performative debate through language. You don't have to engage it on their level. You can engage the idea behind it, but furthermore, I'd contend you still have the textual advocacy occurring, like explaining performance. Okay, now let's go to one important thing, right? Zach tells you that rejection means disallowment, and judges think about the impacts from this round when they look at other rounds. I think what Zach's trying to tell you to say is when, like, you as like critics or any of you here who are judges are going to go to other rounds and you look at performative arguments and arguments against them, you're definitely going to think of what, like, Peter and Steve said. Like, you're going to think about how performance is exclusionary or inclusionary. So this debate definitely has a very real impact on how you as judges are going to view the rounds, and we're telling you that at the point where you're voting for the proposition, that's where, like, the actual, like, solvency or the impact outside of round occurs. Okay, now let's go to exclusion at the top. Okay, so they're telling you that we're not labeling good performance. Okay, if you want to look at a lot of their arguments, they're actually like taken out by the fact that textual advocacy with the performative debate is still performative debate, right? So that takes out their 1 and their 4 on that response. Their second response of doing IEs is this is completely like, it doesn't deal with the students who love debate, who like the argumentative format of it, but they don't want to just stand up and talk for 10 minutes about like pretty things. Now let's look at the turnabout marginalizing students. We're going to get messy. Look to inclusion. I think at the point where we're allowing greater involvement by schools, we're actually not marginalizing students because you have the students that are, one, like you're allowing for more involvement, but secondly, I think if you look at leveling the playing field, that actually turns the argument on marginalizing students because you're allowing students who don't understand like the fast, speedy rhetoric of like traditional circuit debate to be able to become involved in the activity on a different level, and at that point gain experience and kind of be exposed to that idea and like learn from there. Now let's look to the homogenization of debate. He said it makes a good debate. I think that's part of the problem, right? Like he's telling you the only good debate is the textual debate, the purely textual debate, and the performative debate is bad. But I think performative debate is good because it allows for you to engage the issue on a different level. Let's look at the 3. Debater's variance strategy. He said that all of the things we're talking about are textual stuff. Like, no, I think at the point where like we're talking about, like, the example we gave may be a textual one, but I think we're talking about performative debate in general, the impacts, like, flow across, right? So we're telling you this is eliminating people from the activity who perhaps want to engage on this performative level. It's linearizing education because we're telling you there's only one thing that works. And third, I tell you to the point, we're, like, excluding people because we're telling them if you want to, like, perform, you can't do this debate. Let's look at his inclusion.
You've got misunderstanding. Deal with misunderstanding.
Oh, okay. So then there's this misunderstanding performance, right? I think, yeah, you can, the misunderstanding of textual, like any sort of, wait, would irony be textual?
I don't know.
Would irony be textual? Just pure irony?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so at the point where irony is textual, you can misunderstand irony and think that someone is actually racist and like hates everyone, so at that point it's non-unique. Okay, now let's look to inclusion. I think this is where we're winning the round because they're telling you that we need to allow for equal access. Equal access only occurs by allowing for performative debate because otherwise you're inherently rejecting the people that do performative debate. This is it's inherently exclusionary and doesn't provide for equal access because you're excluding some people because one, they may not be able to have the money to be able to participate, but secondly, the people who just want to participate on that level.